Good morning, everyone. Today is a very special day. Well, it's actually a very special week. We started the day by watching the F1 race. Thank goodness that is back from summer break, and now we are in the shop getting ready for our new project.
This week we are actually building a giant entertainment center, and we're doing a bit of a challenge for ourselves to see if we can actually get it done within 7 days, all while posting a daily video about our process. So you might want to check the sidebar over here. This is going to be a part of a playlist. You can actually go down through there and watch all of these in order. But I have my project plans, which are available in a link in the description below, and getting ready to get started. So without further ado, let's jump into day one of this project.
Yesterday we went and picked up 3 sheets of walnut plywood, and I think we have most of what we need for the side bookshelves already here.
So we're about to throw you guys for a big loop, right? Get ready for it. We're using walnut and it's rough cut. Oh my gosh, we're just going against, everything Woodbrew. We're not using pine today. We're not just going to the home center picking out some stuff. We got some quality wood here. Yeah, I'm so parched. It's ridiculous. It's not that we don't normally do that. We just try to make our projects as accessible as possible, and we usually don't have access to this lumber easily, but we do now. So we're going to use it in this project. But if you are brand new to woodworking and you want to do the same project, don't be turned off by the machinery that I'm about to use for this. You can do the exact same thing by buying either walnut or pine or poplar pre-finished in 1x2 pieces. It might cost a little bit more, but you're going to get the same exact result. But first things first, we need to break this walnut down. It's going to be used as the face frame of part of the media center, and it's rough. And so the first thing that we're going to do is kind of go through there and just lay all of our boards out using a chalk marker and just sort of get an idea of where the defects are in the material and where we can get our individual pieces out of it, and just do some general layout right now, because it's going to save us a lot of time later, and also hopefully not make us waste any material. Once everything is laid out, it's time to start breaking it down, and I just start by cross-cutting it. I used a circular saw in this instance, but just getting it from the full length down to more manageable sizes. The smaller you get it, the easier it's going to be to actually mill it, and it's also going to give you better results that way, because you're going to have smaller pieces you're trying to get flat. After that, I went over to the bandsaw and I actually just cut strips out to again make it smaller. And I use the bandsaw because when you're using rough cut lumber, it's not necessarily dangerous, but it can be dangerous to cut that on a table saw with an edge that's not straight at all. Or sometimes, even worst case scenario, rough cut lumber has some tension in it, and when you cut it, it kind of releases that tension. It can bind blades and things. Luckily, this lumber seems to be really well kiln dried and done correctly, so running it through the bandsaw was not an issue. And once we had those pieces down into smaller strips, I was able to just run them across our jointer, which is really the first time y'all have seen us use a jointer probably on this channel, at least in a very long time. So it was fun to do that, and I was able to get one face of the board flat and then one edge of the board flat. And once I had that done, the last thing to do for today with these is just to run them through the planer all together on the same setting, so they stay the same thickness down just till I skin the surface off, so that there's no more rough bits left. And I don't even care what the thickness is. I'm just going to now set them off to the side over here and basically point them straight up, give them some airflow by spreading them apart, and we're going to let those boards rest overnight. What that's going to do is allow the boards to move or do any weird stuff they want to do, and tomorrow we'll mill them down to our final dimensions. We've now entered the part of the project that makes me the most nervous, because we are using walnut plywood, and this stuff was not cheap. It was 160 bucks plus tax per sheet for this project, so quite expensive stuff. And I'm just hoping that I got all my measurements right, and that I also cut these things right. And speaking of cutting them, very first step is we're gonna rip everything on the table saw. I prefer to send everything through the table saw full size, getting it into smaller strips, and then cross-cutting those after. But first things first, we need to take the big sheets, this makes me actually nervous, and send them through the table saw and hope I don't mess anything up. Now that I've broken down all the walnut sheet goods into long, narrow strips, now I'm going to start cross-cutting them into their final dimensions. Some of them have to get cross-cut, then sent back to the table saw, but for the most part, I'm getting them pretty close to the end result. And so to do that, we don't have a miter saw set up in here, which is crazy, I know. It's a project for the future, but we typically use a track saw, and I've had lackluster results with a track saw. So I quickly set up this jig here, which is literally just a piece of plywood with a fence and 2 stops that I've made sure are square, and the T-track of the what is this called? Track saw. The track saw track butts up against those, and it can actually be flipped around and used on the other side. And so you just simply bring your material in, set it down, and cross-cut it, and I've gotten really good results with this in testing. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out all of these cross-cuts. Well, it looks like we've had a pretty successful first day on this project. I managed to get all the rough cut lumber pre-milled up, which I thought was going to take much longer. Didn't take very long. And then this took much longer than expected, but that's mostly because I was trying to not screw up. So this is 45 cuts, something like that, about 35 parts. And yeah, I got them all cut out. I think I've done them all correctly, which is a good thing. And all that's left is a few pocket holes, and tomorrow we'll start assembling this section of the large entertainment center. And so yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe if you want to be notified of these videos coming out. If you're watching real time, we have another video coming out tomorrow. If you're not watching real time, that video is probably already out, and it's probably going to autoplay after this video. So if you're just joining us in this series, I hope you'll stick around. If you guys will, please leave a comment down below, just encouraging us through this week, especially Molly. I have kind of the easy job. I get to just, you know, yeah, come on over here.
I was gonna say, please pray for me and my eyeballs.
Yeah, I have the easy job. I just have to kind of build stuff out here. Molly has to film and edit every day and upload. And yeah,
create reels and take pictures, and
she's yeah. people do not fully appreciate everything you do, Molly.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate that.
All right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap up today's video, day 1. So we'll see you tomorrow on day 2, bright and early.